thought we could talk for a little bit about Stoicism, which has been done to death inside of this sphere, but it's also a philosophy that's deeply misunderstood. I think a lot of people associate Stoicism with emotionlessness and this kind of calmness, but in the broader sense of life. They associate it with individuals who, in a way, don't feel joy or pleasure even. That's wrong. Stoicism isn't about that. It's about calmness and reason in the face of negative emotions, but not positive ones. But anyway, that's more of a tangent. What I wanted to speak about today was how to develop some very actionable Stoic practices into your life. I used to be big into Stoicism. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was very into it, and I want to really reincorporate that into my life because I think it's a very important part of a wider life philosophy. I don't think Stoicism has the answers for everything, but some things that it teaches overlap with other philosophies like Buddhism, which I also have a lot of time for. So I thought we could go over a few practices that you can do in your everyday life to develop a more kind of Stoic mindset towards things. And the first practice is self-denial. And I think this is the most important Stoic practice that you can perform because so many of them, and the ones that we're going to speak about after this, are kind of mind tricks. They're things that you have to think about, but self-denial is truly actionable. And that's why I love self-denial so much. It's taking genuine action into your hands and control over your life. And what it means essentially is denying yourself of various pleasures that you have easy access to. So for example, if you have a cake, not eating it, even if you could, if you've been given a cake saying, no, I don't want that, or in the face of your bed at night going to sleep on the floor for a couple nights, wearing just a t-shirt out if it's cold, knowing that you have warm water but taking a cold shower, having all these ingredients in your kitchen but once every so often just eating a plain bowl of white rice. I think it's very important to develop this level of self-denial because at its basic root it makes you more appreciative of the things that you have, but I think more importantly it makes you more appreciative of less. And I think that is such an important thing that so many people don't do. We're so comfortable with our way of life, but our way of life sets quite a high bar. We have all of these things that we rely on as crutches to develop this sense of contentment and pleasure. Things like TV and YouTube and Instagram and pornography, social media, cigarettes, vapes, whatever. And of course, I'm fallible to some of these things too. I'm not going to sit here and preach to you like I'm not, but I think we need to, as a generation and as a community especially, develop a contentment with less. Develop this kind of happiness with less things, less material possessions specifically. Minimalism is very interesting, and there's a lot of practices in minimalism as well that kind of link to this. Things like going through your room and just getting rid of, donating most of the things that you own. If you look at your shoe rack and say, why the fuck do I own 5 pairs of shoes? Donate 4 of them. Look at your clothes and say, I only wear 10% of these things and donate the rest. It's this idea of reducing your life. And normally that's seen as a bad thing, but I think actually it'll bring you more pleasure. People think, and the Western idea of consumerism and capitalism is that the more things that you own, the happier you will be. But in fact, I would posit that the less you have, the happier you will become. And if you can get rid of the things that you own that you don't need, and need is a very important word in this context, then you'll be a much happier man. Anyway, that's the first practice of Stoicism that I'd recommend, is this level of self-denial. Now we're going to go on to some more kind of mind tricks. And we're going to start with my favourite one, and that is the last time. And it's basically, as the name suggests, the practice of being present. It's the practice of every time you get a conscious moment, so maybe write it down, those words, as your phone's lock screen, write down the last time. It's about noticing the moment. It's about saying, this could be the last time that I do this thing. Tomorrow or on the way home I could die in a car crash. This could be the last time I ever see this person. They could go out and die, or I could, or maybe they'll move away. This could be the last time I speak to my parents. This could be the last time I do any one of these things. And it has a two-way benefit in your life, I think. And the first one, of course, is presence of moments. It allows you to appreciate every single moment that you have, even the most mundane of tasks. To sit there and say, this is the last time I might have this shower. You'll appreciate that shower more if you're conscious of that thought. When you see a person, you'll appreciate them so much more for being there, because it could be the last time you see them. But then secondly, I think it gives a sense of duty to our responsibilities. Because if, for example, I set myself the aim of, I want to meditate every day, then I can say, but and one day I think, oh, I don't really want to do it, so I can't really be fucked. Well, that could be the last time you ever do it. If you set yourself as an aim to call your parents every day if you don't live at home, for example, and one day you think, oh, I can't really be bothered, well, that could be the last time you ever speak to them. So I think in that regard, this idea is a very important one to remember. I think the original words were memento mori, which means remember your mortality. Remember your impermanence, the fact that you could die at any moment, and in that way become so much more present and so much more alive. There was a study that I read recently, so I'm studying psychology at the moment, where they interviewed people that had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, something like cancer. And 60% of those individuals noted that after that diagnosis, they had an improved perception of life. They appreciated things more, they were more grateful. I think it's just tragic that it needs to get to that point before we make that realization. So I think as much as you can, until it becomes a habit, forcefully implant the idea that this could be the last time you do any one thing. And I'm going to start doing it as well from now, because like I say, I've not been very true to that philosophy of life recently. But yeah, so do it with me. Just start saying in any moment that you get, this could be the last time I do it. And see how much more you appreciate those moments. In the same vein, we have a practice called negative visualization, which is something you can do for maybe 1 or 2 minutes at the beginning of every day. It's in a way a gratitude practice. It's to think of something that you have, for example, the roof over your head, and imagine it going. So close your eyes and imagine yourself on the street, cold and hungry and wet in the rain because there's no roof over your head. Perhaps think of your loved ones, like your mother, father, girlfriend, dying. Imagine what it would be like in those moments, that feeling of loss, those pangs of grief and sadness. Visualize these negative emotions, not to dwell in them, not to have a pessimistic view on life, but rather to have that level of optimism and appreciation for every single little thing that you own. There was a famous little quote that I read, and it was, if you tell a Stoic, if you ask a Stoic, is this glass half empty or half full? They'll say, I'm grateful I have the glass in the first place. Hyperbolic. But it's kind of true. It's this deep level of appreciation, this deep level of gratitude for things that you've never even really been grateful for. Your eyesight, your hearing, your senses of touch, every single tiny little thing, your lungs, everything that works together in perfect harmony to keep you alive and experiencing, is to be grateful for all of those things. So try and incorporate, like I say, a 1 or 2 minute practice of negative visualization. Maybe before you do a meditation, or after you've finished a meditation, take another minute and perform a negative visualization. So what do we have next? We have don't complain. And I don't know if this is necessarily like an overtly Stoic idea. I don't know if Marcus Aurelius was ever like, don't complain. But I think he probably did though, to be honest. But it's the idea of just stop fucking complaining, bro. And I do this so much, man. Like, so much. And it really annoys me. And it's something I'm trying so hard to work on. But it's this idea that we just complain. And I catch myself doing it. It's like, I don't actually even believe the complaints I'm saying. I'll be there like, oh, I'm so hungry. I'm not that hungry, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people just complain about things that might not even be true. We're constantly complaining. We're a nation of complainers. Half of our conversations are complaints. Complaining about the weather, the heat, the rain, the cold, everything. All we do is complain. We complain about the food that we have. We complain about the money. We complain about our jobs. We complain about everything. Do you know what that does though to a man? Do you know what that does to a person's psyche? It destroys it slowly. It rips it apart. There's another aspect of psychology. It's called, I think it's called attribution. I'm not sure if I remember the exact word for it. But it basically says that a lot of our emotions are actually more so down to how we attribute that sensation. So for example, I could be given a white bowl of rice, like a bowl of white rice, and I could either say and start complaining, oh fuck me, that's such a boring meal, or I could sit there and think, oh, this is nice, it's nutritious, it's gonna nourish me from the inside. And you see how just that slight perceptual shift has changed the way that I react to that entire situation. So it's quite important. It's quite an important thing that we develop, is to notice yourself when you complain and to snap out of it. Just to say, no, actually, I'm not that tired. Actually, I'm not really that bored right now. Don't complain just for the sake of complaining. And then finally, we have the last Stoic practice, and that's the dichotomy of control. And it's quite an important one. It basically states that in this world there are two groups or two categories of things, three really. The first category is things that are completely under our control. For example, whether I stand up right now, or whether I ask a girl, or whether I call my parents. That's completely under my control. Then there are things that aren't under your control at all. Whether the sun rises, whether you get a promotion, I guess, at your job. These things that we have no control over, whether your parents die, perhaps. And then the third category is things that we have some but not complete control over. So, for example, a tennis match or an exam. I can't necessarily control the outcome of the exam. Maybe I'll get there and the questions will be really fucking hard. Maybe I'll get there and I'll just completely forget everything. But I can in some way influence it by doing the right revision, by learning the right things, by paying attention in class. So it fits into a kind of middle category. And then the Stoic advice, in a very Stoic way, is, well, you see the things that you can't control. Get rid of them. Completely forget that they exist. Don't spend a single second worrying about those things. And you see the things that you can control, spend all of your resources focusing on those. And then finally, in that category of semi-controllables, reword them so that they become fully controllable. So for example, if you had a goal to do well in your test, don't say, I want to get an A. Say, I want to revise as hard as I can. I want to revise for 3 hours a day. I want to do this test to the best of my ability. And in that way, you bring it from here down to here. It becomes a controllable. Anyway, those are the 5 core tenets of Stoicism, I'd say. There are other ones, like there's ideas of presence and this idea of not living in the future or the past because they don't necessarily exist. There's all these ideas of fatalism, of things that are bound to happen. But those 5 are the core ideas. I'll read them out again. It's the idea of self-denial, negative visualization, the last time, don't complain, and trichotomy of control. So see how many of those you can practice in your life. Anyway, Thank you for watching the video. If you gained any value, drop a subscribe and come give me a call or chat to me on Discord. I'm so proud of you, brother. Manifest excellence, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.